Hey everybody, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of the Daniel Teaches Experience, the podcast hosted by Daniel, psychology student who brings you his 2 cents from his lectures, his readings, and his personal anecdotes on life. Thank you so much for joining me, whether it's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. I appreciate it. Let's talk about vengeance. Today's episode, as you guessed looking at the title, is going to be about human appetite for vengeance. What does vengeance mean? Vengeance, if you look up on Google, it's going to be something like the desire to get revenge, or romanticizing, fantasizing about taking revenge. It's this idea that you've been wronged and that justice needs to be served, right? If you're out for vengeance, you are the judge. You are the jury, you are the executioner. You want to go basically take karma into your own hands. Something's gone wrong and you want to correct it. Now, the reason I want to talk about vengeance, and a couple weeks ago I watched the Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. Look, I'm going to spoil it because this came out like many years ago. But in the third Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, there's this one scene where he puts on this black Spider-Man suit. And essentially what you see is this quote-unquote loser who got bullied, who wasn't the most attractive guy. All of a sudden, now he's out and about and he's being a jerk to people. He's walking around as if he owns the place. And time again in my life, I've seen these absolute angels, some of the sweetest, kindest, most gentle souls, show this other side to them that I never knew existed. Imagine you're driving down the street, and then you hear lots of honking, and then you hear lots of foul language, and then you poke your head out and you see it's an elderly gentleman with white hair. He's shouting something. He's using very explicit language. And then you look, oh my God, I think that's Pastor Jones. That's your pastor from the church. And he's yelling a bunch of things about the lady in front of him having to go to hell because she swerved in front of his lane without hitting her blinker. Like, it's a mess. What I want to do is this. A few years ago, taking myself as a subject, I thought to myself, I am such a warm human being. I'm so kind. I'm so compassionate. I could never hurt anyone. That was my thought. And then I grew up, and I realized that that was a lie. It's important to not lie to yourself. We are capable of so much love and so much compassion and so much good things. But in the same breath, we are capable of some nasty things. You don't believe me? Girls, there's a guy probably DMing you who's attracted to you, maybe a guy at work, at school. You know how easy it would be to just crush his dreams? To tell him, hey, look, you're a loser and you're not going to have a chance. And even if I wasn't with my boyfriend, I still wouldn't be dating you. You could say that. Daniel, I would never say that because that's mean. Look, there's a difference between I can't say that versus I don't want to say that. You say, Daniel, I can't seriously harm someone. You can't or you don't want to. You can't because you're a rabbit or you're a lion who doesn't want to harm someone and doesn't want to take their head off. There's an important difference there. Anyone is capable of taking vengeance, be it physically, be it psychologically. When we feel like we've been wronged by a supervisor, by a partner, you see this a lot in the relationship realm. A girl feels like her boyfriend is talking to other girls way more often. So what does she do? Well, if she's insecure and has a real appetite for vengefulness, she goes out, she starts talking to other guys to get him jealous. I have seen with my own eyes a girl wanting more attention from her boyfriend, feel like she's not getting it. This is a true story. And in order to get back at him, guess what she does? All of a sudden her posts online start to become a little bit more explicit. All of a sudden she starts talking to more guys, whether digitally or in person, in front of her partner. Because she wants him to see, she wants him to get jealous. Folks, if that's not vengeance, I don't know what. Vengeance isn't, he screwed me over, I gotta go beat him up. Vengeance is any form of revenge, any form of, you got me, I gotta get you back. And it's crazy how many people display this. Look, not everyone can go take a life, okay? But the majority of the people, in my opinion, can, if the situation is just right, or in this case, I guess just wrong. If you're raised a certain way, if you've been in a prison for a couple of years and you understand the way that to survive is to fight back. And if you don't want to get bullied, you got to become the bully. I'm saying in a certain context. Now, in order for them not to think you're soft, now you got to start picking on the bullies and you got to start beating them up. So then you come out of prison, you got that same mentality. All of a sudden, this sweetheart, this friendly, compassionate person, you don't think you develop a real hatred if you weren't under that sort of a circumstance or in that sort of an environment? People can be pushed to some really dark places. And if you're still sitting there going, Daniel, that's not me. Like, I don't believe in vengeance. I'm a very matured soul. I'm bigger than that. I don't let it get to me emotionally. I applaud you, because that's not me. I applaud you. I bow down to you, and I respect you for that. I myself am still in a place where I focus on my emotions, and I know I come on here and I talk about you got to be mature and responsible, don't get into fight, this and that. But every once in a while, I still find things that trip me up. People say something or something goes on, and I find myself with thoughts, you know. It could be as simple as like me thinking to myself, I hope you don't find your charger today. I hope you forget your login to your Instagram account. You know, I hope something bad happens to you at work today. Just little things. Why? Because I'm mad at you. I'm mad at the thing that you said, or something happened, and I'm projecting my own anger onto you. And then it's not until a couple hours later where I cool down. I'm like, dude, what the hell was that? Why am I actively wishing bad things to come your way? Because I feel like I've been wronged. And in order to make me feel better, or so I think, something bad has to happen to you. Another example. Girl gets cheated on. The boyfriend cheats on her. She's full of vengeance. So what does she do? Maybe she goes and starts talking to her now ex-boyfriend's very good friend. Not because she likes him, but because she wants to get back at her ex. And what if that poor soul actually likes her? And he thinks that she's with him to be with him, not out for revenge. So do you see what happens, folks? Do you see what happens when we blindly pursue vengeance? There's usually collateral damage. The only thing that I ask for the people listening, look, it happens. People are going to tick you off. People are going to say things that are mean, that are harmful, that make you feel upset, that make you feel aggressive. It is extremely important to have self-control. Look, in the past, I've said things like, I don't know why people are so sensitive. I don't know why people get so triggered easily. And those are overblown words. What I really mean to say is it's unfortunate that adults over the age of 18, over the age of 21, have emotional outbursts so easily. That's what I mean to say. Look, I say something on purpose or unintentionally to make you upset, right? You feel upset, maybe you even feel pissed off. Now, how much self-control do you have to tame your emotion? Look, there's standing up for yourself and saying, hey, Daniel, that wasn't cool. And there's losing your mind, getting mad, shouting, throwing things. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, look, if you're a 6-year-old and you want to raise your voice and throw something, I understand. But when you're a 25-year-old woman and someone makes you upset and you have to start shouting and throwing things, or you're a man and your girlfriend makes you upset so you have to put your hands on her, that's not cool. That's not dumb. That's childish. Throwing a temper tantrum when you're 40 years old is not cool. It doesn't make you badass because you can get angry. No, man, I think it's a lack of self-control. Look, people can make you angry, people can make you upset, but they can't. You still have to take responsibility for your actions. You can make me mad, but if I pick up a rock and I smack you in the face, that's on me. When I'm in court and I say, well, Your Honor, in my defense, she made me mad. She made me pick up the rock and hit her in the head. That's not going to stand up in court. So my 2 cents here is, if we can recognize that we are angry, if we can recognize that we are looking to hit back, and just don't do anything. Just sit with it. Don't say this. When you're pissed off, don't say calm down, because sometimes calm down, people get even more mad. Have you ever seen that in the movies? Hey, Michelle, you need to calm down. Oh, Jesus. All right, never mind, right? Just don't say anything. Let the fire cool down. Give it 3, 5, 8 hours. And then think to yourself, you go, you know what? I want revenge. Okay, we can go after revenge, but not right now. Let me give myself 12 hours. And if I still feel the same way, then we can start thinking about revenge. And more times than not, 12 hours go by. And at least then, if you're still angry, it doesn't have the same emotional intensity, right? When something happens right in that moment, I mean, you're furious, you want to take somebody's head off. But when time goes by, hours go by, days go by, There's that old saying, I don't know who said it or how it went exactly, but it was something along the lines of wait 2 to 3 days before you make a big decision if there's emotions involved. Be very careful. Sometimes I perceive people to be very emotional online. Every once in a blue moon, someone messages me with something or they comment something, and I can hear the tone of their voice as I'm reading this message, and I'm going, dude, you got to be very careful. I would never say this to someone because, look, if you're very upset and you text me something, my first instinct is this person has to be careful because people are going to exploit that in a business sense and in a relationship sense. You got to be careful to not get overly emotional. But the problem is if I text someone and I say that, if I text something like, hey man, you should really be careful of how emotional you get. When someone's angry, all they see is red. So that's not going to calm them down. They're not going to say, thank you, Daniel, for your advice. They're going to say, hey, buddy, up yours. That's important. When people only see red, there is no rationale. That's not the time for me to sit down and explain invalid argument, argumental fallacies, and why their premises do not hold up and they don't support the conclusion. That is not the fight, man. If someone sees red, dude, you walk away. And if it's you who's seeing red, just sit on it. Don't say, I'm not going to take revenge. Let's wait. Let's wait because I want to think this through. And then the day afterwards, at least you have a cooler head, you know? This can be with anything, with your spouse, with your employer, with your friend, a guy on the street. It's one thing to be in a street altercation. You're in the heat of the moment. He pushes you, you push him, you end up in a fight. It's different if, let's say, he pushes you, you don't push him back. You go home, you whatever, 2-3 days out later, you're on the street, you see him again. You'll still have ill feelings, don't get me wrong, but there's that emotional intensity is lowered. This gets really complicated when you start going into PTSD and trauma, because that's when that stuff carries on. God bless his soul. Medical doctor turned psychologist Sigmund Freud was the first person to put on the map the idea of repressed memories and carrying trauma with you. He was the first. All the bad things people say, and they like to make fun of Freud because he was wrong here and there. He was the first person to normalize this idea of a 27-year-old woman coming to therapy because she was sexually assaulted when she was 15. And he said, dude, the idea of time heals all wounds. False. Time does not heal all wounds. If you just take that trauma and you pretend that it never happened, what are you talking about? It's the intention of healing. It's active healing. It's going to therapy. It's talking about it. It's doing something about it. But you were in a very bad predicament a couple of years ago and you pretend that it didn't happen. And now you think just because 10 years have passed, your body's forgotten or your brain's forgotten? Incorrect. Incorrect. So when we go to vengeance, I'm not saying forget it. I'm not saying don't act on it. I'm saying just take a minute. Take 24 hours. Take 12 hours. Sit with that feeling next time you feel really angry or riled up at your partner, at your supervisor, or whatever it is. And once you've recovered, find a logical way to approach this thing. The message here isn't, look, you got to let people walk all over you. No, it's the opposite. It's you got to strike back, but you got to do it in a rational manner that's respectful. Not just to them, but to you and to your character. If you walk around as a person who's sophisticated and intellectual, a kind and compassionate person, what's it going to look like when you're throwing a temper tantrum? What does it look like when Pastor Jones on Sunday is preaching civility and patience and love and humility, and on the next day after you see him in road rage, saying some very explicit things about the person in front of them, grandmother? God, Jesus, Pastor Jones, what was this? On Sunday you were saying all that, now you're saying all this. What was going on? So once you have cooled down, you got to take a look in the mirror and go, look, is there something really here? Have I truly been wronged, or was it me? I've been in a few situations where I thought I was wrong. As God is my witness, I thought someone had really wronged me, but when I looked in the mirror, I went, you know what? I understand why you did what you did. And I even took a further step. I said, if I was in your place, I would have done the exact same thing. I did what I believed to be right, but you also did what you believed to be right in that moment. You didn't intend to hurt me the same way that I didn't intend to hurt you. It sucks that it happened. I'm angry that it happened, but I don't blame you. And I hold zero animosity towards you. That's how some, if not majority of my interactions have gone. Every once in a while, no, there are some when I go, even after I've calmed down, I go, Daniel, man, they're still in the wrong. They're still in the wrong. I've said, man, it's not me. It is them. I'm positive. I'm sure. I'm not emotionally more. I've talked to 2 or 3 people. It is them. And in that case, you got to take a step back and go, look, the best thing that I can do now is find a way for this to not weigh me down, for this to not cloud my thinking when I'm approaching school or work or doing this. Because if someone's really getting on my nerves and it's impacting me when I'm spending time with my girlfriend, or it's messing with me when I'm at work or when I'm at home watching TV, man, they've won. There's something wrong with me emotionally. And that's not to say you're weak, you're a loser if you ruminate, if you keep thinking about bad situations over and over again. Not at all. But it's this idea of understanding, look, you could say whatever you want to me. You could do whatever you want to me. I'm going to get upset, I'm going to get angry, but at the end of the day, it's about emotional intelligence. It's about me realizing, look, man, you made me mad. These are the things that I can do in the confines of the law. I can come to your house, I can beat you up, right? So, well, that's not going to end well. I can message you something nasty online, and then you message me something nasty online. Well, that's tough. Maybe your coworkers, maybe your classmates. You go, man, I'm going to go to class. I'm going to see you every day, right? How much can I do? And then it's up to you to decide where the line is between, look, I'm respectful. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to acknowledge you, but I got nothing to say to you. That's not me being weak. That's me being true to my own character. I am bigger than that. I don't have any animosity towards you. What happened back there sucked, but dude, I can't let that weigh me down. To quote a famous philosopher and intellectual, also hip-hop artist, Drake, he once said, he goes, you got so much energy in the day. Are you really quoting Drake, Daniel? Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. Now listen, you have so much energy in a day. You only have a finite amount. Why would you waste that energy putting it into someone else? If you really want to do the best with that energy, you put it into yourself. Get an extra workout in. Get an extra shift in at work. Spend some extra time with your lady friend or with your boyfriend. Because if you're really in this idea of taking revenge, you are doing yourself a disservice by feeding the fire. Look, if you can do something about it, great, but oftentimes we can't, right? We can't just go and beat them up. We can't just go and, there's no end to it. So the next best thing you can do is you can say, look, I'm not going to let this consume me. When I'm lying in bed at night thinking about my coworker said this, and I should have said that, and God, I got to see it. Like, in my opinion, the way to combat this appetite for vengeance is coming to a part, and many people don't have that. I've met people who are my age, and they're very vengeful. They're extremely vengeful. Oh my God. People hold grudges, man. I've met some people who I've heard from other stories. For example, let's say a friend does something, okay? And in that point of time, no one says anything about it. All of a sudden, 5 years later, like a significant amount of time, 4 to 5 years later, God bless again what Sigmund Freud was saying, I'm sitting down with another friend of mine, and he goes, I still haven't forgiven for what he did back in 2012. 2012? God, Jesus, man. What do you mean 2012? Why don't you say anything? Right? So, man, it's very hard for people to forget. And it's very hard for people to forgive. Sometimes someone does something to you, and you look at them in the eyes and you go, look, I forgive you. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you think that's the right thing to say, so you say it, but you don't actually mean it. And in that case, we have to be open with ourselves and go, look, I will never forget this incident, and I might never have to forgive you. If I'm not ready to forgive, like this goes against all the self-help advice, man, you got to forgive not for him, but for yourself because it takes the load off, it makes you feel better. Absolutely. But if you're not ready to forgive someone, if you're vengeful, if I want to take your head off and you say, Daniel, you forgive me? No, I don't forgive you. I don't owe you anything. If you are listening to this podcast, you do not owe anybody a forgiveness. They can apologize if they want. Whether you accept it or not is 100% up to you. And don't feel pressured to accept it. No, I don't forgive you. And it's got nothing, and be careful, be very careful. This is not you holding a grudge. This is me saying, look, you got to be genuine. If you accept the apology, accept the apology. But if you're still in that hot-headed mode, don't lie. Go, no, I don't forgive you right now. Maybe at some point in time, but not right now. Give yourself, again, a couple days, a couple weeks. And then once the heat is lying off, think to yourself, go, look, he made me angry or she made me angry. But me carrying around this anger is going to drain my energy. Energy that I can put into my family, energy that I can put towards my girlfriend, my hobby. And it's going to start impacting different areas of my life. So screw that person, but for me, I gotta let go of this vengeance. If I am as kind as I say I am, if I am as compassionate as I say I am, if I am as loving and as respectful and as courteous as I say I am, I have to be very careful when we're talking about vengeance and getting back at people, getting revenge at people. Because you getting back at someone, you winning, might just lead to you losing. Because you've just turned into the pastor who preaches one thing on Sunday and finds himself in road rage on Monday. What do you think that does to your character, not only in the eyes of the people, but when you look in the mirror? Thank you so much for listening, everybody. My name is Daniel. This has been Daniel Teaches. I appreciate each and every single one of you. You'll hear from me again next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.